We've had 52 events, 101 companies have presented, 1,985 people have attended. Of course, some of those are repeat. We have some very faithful attenders, but still. And then, of course, every presentation is filmed. We put it on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page. So, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'd like to introduce our organizing committee. We have Ms. Esther Lopez.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning.
Serena Harper. Eric Bischoff. Nicole. And I can't remember our last names. Nancy Lowry in the back. I thought somebody else was floating around. And I'm Ernesto Gamboa. We have our past president of the Hub and former Mayor Joe Wardy in attendance. I don't want to put him on the spot, but since it is the 1-year anniversary of 1 Million Cups, Joe, would you kindly say a few words?
Sure. Why not? Right.
This is his first time back after retiring. Now he's never going to come back, right?
After retiring in the flu.
Retiring out of the flu. But it is a special occasion, so it was a wonderful coincidence.
No, I want to thank you all for being here today. It's exhilarating to participate in this, either as a member of Hub or non-member of Hub. But what's happened is, I remember when Nancy and I and Paso went to Albuquerque to see their ecosystem for entrepreneurship and innovation, and they said, well, you have to come to our Million Cups event. We had no clue what Million Cups was, and there was 127 people in Albuquerque at the Million Cups event. Started much, in fact, we're probably ahead of where they were when they started. But we witnessed firsthand the catalyst that it became for Albuquerque, and it is beyond our expectations for what we have done to bring like-minded people in our community together that care about innovation and entrepreneurship and to do networking, all of the things, everything, it's exceeded our expectations. So congratulations to the committee. Thank you to everybody who participates. Spread the word. You know, we get a bum rap in El Paso a lot. It's our fault. Yeah. Not anybody else's fault but ourselves. So congratulations to everybody for trying to make a difference. Thank you, and good luck for our secretary.
Great. Thank you, Joe. So, do we have any first-time attendees here? Who's here for the first time? Show of hands. All right, thank you. What is 1 Million Cups? It was started by the Kauffman Foundation over 5 years ago. It's an entrepreneurial networking, showcase, and educational event. Every week we bring in 2 entrepreneurs to tell us their story, their trials, their tribulations, how they got started into going into business of their own. And lastly, how can we as a community help them? After their short presentation, you as an audience get to then ask them questions for 15 minutes. And that's the real value add for them. When you all challenge them, ask them those tough questions. Every entrepreneur who's presented said, I got such great valuable feedback in addition to the networking and the exposure. So please don't be afraid to get in the woods and ask them that. By the way, 1 Million Cups is over 140 communities. In fact, I'm guessing now they're probably at 150. They've been adding communities. And I just have to share, when I went to the National Organizers Summit, I heard a young lady from Charleston, organizer, said, 1 Million Cups is the second most badass thing I get to do besides my family. And I agree with that. So thank you for being here. I'd like to do a shout out to our sponsors. The delicious coffee is by 210 Coffee Roasters. They have 3 retail locations around town. Please do support them. Their coffee is awesome. Please try it out. Our venue sponsor, the Hub of Human Innovation, which is where we are right now. What is the Hub? We are a business and technology incubator. So if you have a company or a new startup or idea or concept, particularly one that's bringing a new product or technology to market, we can help. Come talk to us. We're a fantastic value because we are supported by the city and private donors for the purpose of economic development, so come see us. Again, all of our videos are uploaded, so you can check them out on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube. Please download the app. You can download the 1 Million Cups app. Please do check in. I've been forgetting to check in, but I finally started last week. But please do check in. And also on the app, you can give feedback after the fact, so that's really cool. Lastly, please make sure you follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, both the Hub and 1 Million Cups. Real quick parking announcement before we get started. If you parked in front of the building in the angle parking, make sure you've backed in. Otherwise, you'll get a love note from the city. If you're on the side closest to Durango, you only have an hour. If you're on the side closest to the Paisano curve, then you're fine, that's unlimited. So with that, we'll go ahead and bring up our first presenter, CASA.
Here.
I knew she was here.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, so our clicker is not working, so if you can just say next slide and go with advance.
Great. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sandy Moody, and I'm from CASA, the Court-Appointed Special Advocates. And I put this slideshow together yesterday, and then I think I wanted to make some changes on it. So it's all right. Next slide, please. What we do, this is what CASA does. We train and support volunteers from the community to advocate for the needs of kiddos that are in the foster care system right here in El Paso County. What we're really looking for are volunteers. But how I got started was I was a volunteer. I was working with the government on post, and my boss, my husband, was getting ready to deploy, and it was just me and the cat at the time. So he came into my office and he said, "So what are you going to do while your husband's gone for a year?" And I responded with, "I'm going to watch TV, drink beer, and watch a lot of old reruns of Law and Order." And he said, "That's not good enough." So he referred me down to CASA. He's like, "You'd be a great CASA volunteer." And that's how I ended up as a volunteer and started with the organization. Next slide, please. So this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to serve abused and neglected kiddos that are right here in our county. Right now, on any given day, we have about 700 give or take kiddos that are in foster care. Now those children can be in foster care with a non-custodial foster parent or a grandma, maybe an aunt or an uncle, something like that. These kiddos have all kinds of things happen to them. They've been abused, neglected, they've been traumatized, and so what we do as volunteers, we try to bring folks in who are at least 21 years old and can pass a background check, because we don't want these kiddos to be victimized any more than they already have been. Next slide, please. So what do we do as a volunteer? We serve as the eyes and the ears of the court. So the judge, there are 2 county judges here that help us out with family court, with the foster care system. They can't watch 700 kids. So they need volunteers to go out into the community and talk with these kiddos that are in foster care, maybe in their school setting, maybe if they have a therapy appointment, they just meet them there, maybe see the kiddos, see how they're doing, and then give a report to the judge based on what they feel is the best interest of the child. So what we want to do is have them spend the least amount of time in care. A CASA volunteer can help with that because there are the eyes and the ears of the court. So they're saying, you know what, mom and dad are doing what they need to do to get the children returned. Let's put those kids back with mom and dad. Or there's some hiccups going on, mom and dad haven't been able to go to their therapy appointments, maybe they haven't met the needs that they need through Child Protective Services. And so maybe those children need to be placed for adoption. And we want to have that happen within about a year to 18 months. So it's kind of quick. Next slide, please. So how do you become a volunteer? Well, you can check out our website. It is brand new. We are still working out some of the hiccups because I'm the one running the show, and I don't know too much about it, but I'm working on it. And also, the next thing is after you submit your application, then you meet with a staff member to talk about your application, do a pre-screening interview, and talk a little bit more about what CASA is and if it fits in your schedule as a volunteer. We do have background checks. Again, we do Child Protective Services background checks and FBI fingerprinting. So we do this because, again, we don't want our kids to be submitted to any more abuse and neglect than they already have been. We do have a 30-hour training class. A portion of it is online and a portion is in our classroom. We've got a great office downtown in the Wells Fargo building with a really great room now. So we've got a great trainer and she handles all of that. We do ask you to commit to at least 18 months of service because, as I mentioned before, a court case can last 12 to 18 months. We want to get those kiddos in a permanent situation within 18 months. So our volunteers give about 15 to 20 hours per month, and that can be on the higher end when you do have a courtroom case, and we do require you to be in court. And the reason for that is because the judge may want to ask you a question about any observations that you may have with with the child, with the family, anything like that, to get a little more clarification, because that's what you're there for. So our volunteers give that 15 to 20 hours per month. When I was a volunteer, my case lasted 13 months. I had 3 kiddos. They were 8, 10, and 12. And I had my little boy, he was 8 years old. And when you become a volunteer, you start calling them your kids, even though at the time I didn't have any kids. So I'm like, oh, I have 3 kids. So I would go and meet with my 8-year-old little boy, and they were all in different foster homes. Something that a CASA volunteer can help with is trying to get those children into the same foster home. Because once they get moved from their biological home, they're not with their team anymore. And it's hard on them. They're in a different school, they're with a foster family, and maybe they're with their brother and sister. So I tried to have that happen, but we didn't have enough foster homes in the county to have the 3 of them together. However, my little boy was moved from one foster home to another foster home. And what really solidified me to do what I do now is when he was moved, the caseworker from Child Protective Services let me know. Well, then of course I went over to the foster home, knocked on the door. The new foster mom said, "Oh, Sandy, we've been waiting for you." And she called my little boy over, and he looked at me and he said, "Miss Sandy, how did you know I was here?" To which I respond, "I know everything." Which I don't, but that was what he needed. He needed somebody that was going to be there for him the whole way through that case, so that he knew that there was at least one person looking out for him. Because sometimes caseworkers change, foster homes change, sometimes attorneys change. And that kid, all 3 of them, they really needed one person to be there for them. So that's why I do what I do. I'm also a foster adoptive parent, so I kind of both sides of everything with that. I'm really passionate about CASA. I'm really passionate about what our volunteers do and what they do for our kids in the community. And that's all that I have, so I will take questions. Thank you. I hope that's my last slide. I can talk about this for hours. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, did you say how long it's been active, the program?
The program's been here in El Paso since 1986, and it was started with the Jewish Women's Federation and, oh my goodness, one more, the Junior League.
And funding?
Our funding comes from donations and from the county and from the state. Yes, ma'am.
What is the process to adopt through CASA?
So we don't do any of the adoption. Everything will go through Child Protective Services, and they have a class, and they also do background checks, pre-screening, all of that stuff. It does take a little while, but it's totally worth it.
You can become a foster parent first, and then they'll give you the option to adopt if there's.
Yes.
So you can adopt them if you become a foster parent,
Yes.
and they're up for adoption.
If they're available.
You're going to have first choice.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, ma'am.
If one becomes a volunteer, so what is the max amount of kids that you get?
So it really depends. We try to give one case to each volunteer, and it really depends on how many children are involved in that case. So lately we've been having kids, just one kid involved. We've had upwards of 8 kids involved in one case. What'll happen is if it gets to be a higher number of children, we try to pair you up, and that's something else that you can do as well. So if you've got a buddy or maybe a family member that you're like, I'm not really sure, maybe you guys could do it together, as long as everybody passes the background check and does the classes and everything. But we have had people come in on teams, and we'll give you a bigger case because it makes it easier for you. We don't want to stress you out as a volunteer. This volunteer position is already a little high stress, and so we want to make it as convenient as we can for you. So, yes.
As an organization, what do you guys do to attract and maintain your volunteers? Like what kinds of programs do you have in place to keep those people in your organization?
So that's a really great question. We are actually working on that right now because what we found is that we have volunteers who will do one case, and we're really good at getting them. We're not really good at keeping them. And so now we have a training director, myself, and a staff that is working on things to do that. And so we're just trying to offer things for our volunteers because it's a very individualized volunteer program once you're through the entire program, once you're through the training. So you're kind of on your own. You have a volunteer supervisor that helps you, but you're on your own. And people get involved with volunteerism for the social aspect as well. And so that's one thing that we're working on. Right now we have monthly meetings, if you will. CASA Community Cafe is what we call it. And I move around the community and just meet with CASAs who are available, maybe to have some coffee or something like that, just to kind of keep them engaged. We're also reaching out to our volunteers that have been with us for a while, just to check in on them and make sure that they're doing okay. Because how the whole system works is people come through me as the outreach person, and then they go to the trainer, and then they go to their volunteer supervisor, and somewhere in between, we're losing them. So I'm jumping back in to kind of, hey, I haven't seen you in a while, what's going on? So that's a great question, so we're really working on it.
Yeah, it sounds kind of intensive.
It's a little bit, but it's okay.
I myself, and I may add, I myself have been a volunteer for going on 9 years already. And through all the cases that I've been, at first I didn't think I could do it because I have a very busy schedule, I'm very busy. But within time on the weekends or whenever I can, I go and I visit the child. So it's not like you have to go, you make your time, you make your schedule to go and visit the child and make sure that the child is also being well taken care of by the foster parents. And any moment that you may see that the child is in jeopardy for some reason, you can request for that child to be moved from that home. I've seen kids that have already been adopted that I've taken care of, and it's so rewarding. Let me tell you, it is very, very rewarding. So.
And my case that I had, my children actually did go back to mom and dad, which is one of the goals that we have, is to have those kiddos go back to mom and dad. Studies show that kiddos do well in their own environment, even if that environment isn't quite up to what maybe we would think of as acceptable. And so that's what's really important. And I only had that one case because I ended up moving again because I'm a military spouse and that's what we do. But I'm here now permanently. We actually have a house, so we're good. And my husband did retire, so we're good now. So when I left, I just kept in contact with the folks at CASA because I felt so connected to them. And I felt like it was such a great organization. And then when I came back, I'm going to volunteer, and then I ended up working for them, which was even better. So that's how I came in. And I only did that one case, but I would have stuck around and done more cases because the kiddos, they really need you, and they look for you. They look for you.
They do. The case that I have right now, I've been with this child for 5 years already.
Wow.
And it's been up and down, but every time she sees me, it's like, I'm the only one that's stuck there with her. And every time she sees me, it's like, she tells me, I love you so much, because you hear their cases, you hear what they want to, what the best interest of them. So when you're in front of the judge and you have to speak on behalf of the child, even if CPS may not be approved, the judge will hear you, and he'll listen to you.
2 questions. You said 5 years. That's a long time.
Yes, it is.
Is that the average? What is the average?
No, it all depends. It all depends, and every case is different. Every case is different, like she was saying. Sometimes it takes less than a year, sometimes 18 months, and it all depends. This is the longest I've been with a child.
And I think that's part of it is because the system, the Child Protective Services system, sometimes changes are made, and a parent will make a stride, and the judge will say, hey, I'm going to give you another couple months, and then the parent may fall back, and that sounds like what's probably happened here.
Yeah, because so unfortunately, we couldn't find anyone that wanted to adopt.
Oh. And that's
So she has been from foster home to foster home.
yes, it is.
Yes, I can.
When you meet the child, do you have to go to their home, or can it be at a park, or can you take an outing or anything?
So we don't typically take our kiddos out of their foster home. Typically, when I was seeing them, I would go to the foster home and meet with the child there, or if they had an appointment somewhere, I would meet them somewhere. We don't transport any children, and we don't...
I'm saying, what if the foster home was like, oh, we'd like to go to the park today,
You could meet us there, that would be fine. Yeah, so we do a lot of, we talk with our kiddos sometimes if they're in the courtroom. We can talk to them then. When I was a volunteer, I would meet my family at family therapy because there were the 3 kids in 3 different foster homes, and mom and dad would come, and I could see them all interact together before they would go into therapy. And I found that actually worked out very, very well, because I would see the kids individually every month, but then seeing them all together, it really gave me a good insight onto what to tell the judge on my report of what was in the best interest of the kiddos. So, and it was really quick. I mean, it was, they have an appointment at 5, they'd show up at 4:45, I would be there, I'd get a couple minutes with them, and, you know, just to see the kiddos interact with mom and dad, and that was what was important to me. Yes, sir.
I may have missed it at the end, so I apologize. Did you say how many kids are like currently in the CASA organization, or like how many?
So kiddos in foster care, it ranges, every day it's different, but we're around 700 just in this county. Just in this county, that are in need of a permanent home, and have their parents do what they need to do to have them returned to them, or put up for adoption. It's harder. Your case, your child is a little bit older. It's harder. Everybody wants to adopt the babies because, you know, they're cute. Baby. But there are a lot of kiddos that are older, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, that need a family. And so that's kind of my other side, is the CPS foster thing. It's just that, you know, if you have it in your heart to do, and while I love CASA, but we also need foster families as well, to just foster a kiddo. And what that kiddo needs is, when they age out of the system, they're going to turn 18. They really just need somewhere to hang their hat, you know, have a family. They deserve that. So.
You make your own schedule. I mean,
Yes.
you don't have to. You make your own schedule depending on when you're
You're available.
to go and see the child and everything. You make your own schedule.
The only thing that isn't on your schedule is the courtroom hearing.
Yeah.
Because of course that's the judge, and when it's set, then that's when it's set. And sometimes those hearings can last 5 minutes, like I know you're going to court today, so it could last 5 minutes, or there could actually be a long hearing, and it could be 3 or 4 hours. So on that day, your schedule does need to be a little bit flexible for that. So to take all that.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
Are there any other forms that people can volunteer? Yes. We actually do a fundraiser every year in April, and we're always looking for day of volunteers for that fundraiser. And so all that information is on our website, so we definitely, if that's what you can give, then that's what we'll do. So, thank you.
Okay, what can we as a community do to help you?
Spread the word. We need CASA volunteers. Go to my website, not mine, it's ours. Go to our website, check it out, watch some of the videos. We've got some great videos. We have some local videos from some of our volunteers that are actually volunteers or were volunteers here in the community and talk about their cases. Watch their videos, check out the website, pass the word around, and apply to be a volunteer. If you can't volunteer and you don't have time, or maybe you have somebody in your family that this would fit perfectly, or maybe somebody's been thinking about doing foster care, this is a great gateway to foster care. Because this is not all the time. Foster care is a little intense. This isn't all the time, but it kind of gets you to teach, to learn a little bit about how the system works. If you're in school and you need an internship, or you know somebody that's going to need an internship, send them our way. Well, you know, background checks, got to be at least 21, and can commit to us. That would be wonderful if you could just spread the word.
Great, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, now we have some time for community announcements. Does anybody in the audience have an announcement? Yes. Nice and loud.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I just wanted to let you know that February 12th, the real estate investment group that I'm with, we want to do a Valentine's Kid Entrepreneur Workshop. So if you have any children that you know that are aged 8 to 18 that want to be entrepreneurs, or already are, or just thinking about it, we would love to have them come and showcase what they're doing. And we're going to have a couple of guest speakers talk to the kids about what it's like to be a kid entrepreneur, what they need to do, So if you have anybody in mind that would like to speak with them as well, that'd be fabulous. It's going to be, again, February 12th from 6 to 9 p.m. It's a Monday. And we're doing it before Valentine's Day, so that way if the kids have anything they're selling before Valentine's Day, we can have them do that.
Okay, great. Any other community announcements? Yes, ma'am.
All right, my name is Megan Curry. I'm a new program manager with Insights El Paso Science Center. We're no longer a museum, but geared up to 100% outreach services. We have a couple of events coming up in February that are especially geared towards families and adults, more so adults than the first one. If you like tequila, we're going to have a Nerd Night event over at the Centennial Museum in partnership with the Centennial Museum. All about tequila. So we'll have 3 different speakers talking about everything from the cultural aspects of tequila production in central Mexico to bat pollination of agave. We'll also have lots of delicious tequila there to drink. We'll have a photo exhibit. We'll have the artist flown in from Austin to talk about his photography. It's part of our ongoing Nerd Night series. So you can find out about that Nerd Night on February 9th on our website, insightselpaso.org, or bug me later. And then we also have another event in February 4th is our first Sunday Dino Tracks hike. If you want to see some fossilized dinosaur tracks over near Sunland Park, we do a public hike the first Sunday of each month. That's at 1 p.m. and you can also find out about that on our website.
Great, awesome. Tequila! All right. Anyway, I don't apologize for my drinking problem. Yes.
Hi everybody, I'm Lorena Lowe. You're cordially invited tomorrow morning, every Thursday morning, for breakfast with friends. We work from 8:30 to 10 o'clock at the Carnitas, right by the fountains. We always have a fabulous guest speaker. Our speaker for tomorrow is right here, right now, this wonderful woman. She is Miss Ann Kramer, who's going to be talking about sand therapy. So please join us if you have any questions. Meet me after the meeting.
I have a question. Do you all have a website or somewhere where you can see who's the speaker ahead of time? What's the website?
It's bwfnetwork.com.
Okay. Any other announcements? Is anybody? Oh, yes.
Website.
Morning, everybody. I'm Tom Handy. I give free classes Monday and Thursday on what cryptocurrency is. You know, the money you can't see, touch, or taste. Monday's on the east side over on Famous Dave's on Airway, 11:30. On the west side is over at Foreman Pizza, 11:30, same time. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other announcements? Anybody looking to hire? Anybody raising money? Anybody has raised money? Any announcements? Any? Going once? Going twice? Okay, now I have a whole bunch of announcements as always. So the SBDC is having a 3-part series: unemployment, tax rates and claims, and hiring and firing procedures. The first series, the first of the series is January 25th. I think that's tomorrow. And then February 1st, February 9th, there is a cost. It's 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Next, the Leadership El Paso Leadership 2018 is having an event Tuesday, January 30th at Grace Gardens, 6:30 to 9 p.m. It's at the Grace Gardens at 6709 West Side Drive. So again, if you want any more information, you can see one of us after. Next, the Texas Pace Authority is having a series on, are you interested in upgrading your commercial property with energy, water efficiency, and distributed generation technologies but lack capital? The Texas PACE program, which PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy, enables commercial property owners to obtain affordable long-term financing for a term as long as the projected useful life of the improvements. And again, these are energy efficiency or water efficiency. So if you have any interest in that, please let us know. Next, the Greater El Paso Chamber of Commerce is having their BizTank competition. They extended the deadline. The deadline now to apply is February 1st. BizTank contestants will be able to pitch their idea during their Women in Business conference. That's going to be on March 23rd. So again, if you have any interest, and there are going to be prizes. Second one of that. The Hub, our legal office hours, is resuming for February. It will be February 15th, but you must register by the 8th. The registration is now open. You can register through Eventbrite, or you can contact one of us or send an email to officehours@hubep.org. You get 25 minutes with an attorney, totally free of charge, right here at the Hub. So again, if you have any interest, that's a great program. Please sign up. The El Paso Hispanic Chamber is doing Hablemos del Dinero 2.0. This is a long series of events. They've already had the first two. The next, I'm sorry, they already had the first one. The next one is February 8th, create a business plan, and then March 8th, create a marketing plan. So that'll be at the Hispanic Chamber, 2401 East Missouri, 4 to 6 p.m. On the dates listed. Next, the Texas Workforce Commission is having a Texas Business Conference. They have, these are being held all around the state. The one for El Paso is May 4th at the El Paso Marriott. And the purpose there is for helping connect employers with people that they're looking to hire. Next, the Office of the Texas Governor of Economic Development is having their Export Initiative program for 2018. Again, this is a wonderful program. If you're doing exporting, thinking of doing exporting, would like to expand your exporting, they connect you both here in the U.S. and also around the world with exporting opportunities. And there's a whole bunch of different events that you can sign up for. Please look into that if you have any interest. Please do sign up for the Downtown El Paso Insider. We're obviously part of the Downtown El Paso community, but you can also see what else is happening in downtown. We've already talked about Breakfast with Friends. All those events, there are a lot to remember. Remember, you can go to startupdigest.com/El Paso. You need to find our community. But there you can sign up to learn about all the innovation and startup related events in the community, and also you can put your events on there for free, so please do that. And lastly, we are collecting success stories, and we're being very, very liberal with our definition of success stories. So if you've made any kind of connection, a client, anything like that from 1 million cups, please let me know. I'm collecting them. I'd like to hear about it. And then now we get to give away our mug. Oh, I have an assistant today. All right. Mary Kay Moore and Santa Cruz. You can rap. You don't want? You don't have to be that enthusiastic. I love my mug. I want a second mug. West Texas Non-Slip Solutions, right on live. Yeah, you need to come back and present as well. So with that, I'll bring up our second presenter, the Piensa Institute.
First of all, good morning to all. I thank the Kaufman Foundation for the opportunity, along with the Hub of Innovation. I'm going to present my presentation about the Piensa Institute in 3 parts. The first part is I'll do a small, short background about what my professional career is. The second is then I will present what the Piensa Institute is all about from an entrepreneurial perspective. And then the third is how does the Piensa Institute impact the entrepreneurial group throughout the world. First and foremost, my name is Cruz Jimenez. I am the founder and CPO of the Piensa Institute. By CPO means that I'm the Chief Provoking Officer. That means that I love to provoke people to think outside of the box, to make them think in terms of opportunities and circumstances that exist outside of our minds, which are available to us only if we have an open mind sufficient enough to be able to access that. The majority of my background, I started off as in the area of human resources. I worked with companies such as General Electric, Bristol Myers, Levi Strauss & Company, and several others. Since 1992, basically I've had the Piensa Institute. Basically started as a business strategist working to assist large corporations throughout the world, specifically the most complex of industries, which we call vertical industries, which is the most complex of all, and able to be able to help them to move forward and become successful and profitable. My area of focus has been, for the most part, always been on the human element. That has been my passion. I love to understand how people think. I love to understand how the human being is, how it was structured, developed, and formed in such a way that we can be able to understand what we are all about. And I think it's one of the areas that we least know about. This month completes 50 years that I've dedicated to researching and understanding what the human being is all about. So that's a little bit in terms of my background, in terms of what my nature is, in terms of loving the human element, to understand it, and to be able to improve it going forward. Now I'm going to go into what the Piensa Institute is from an entrepreneur perspective, so that you can have an idea of what we're all about. So today what I'd like to do is make an announcement to you and to the world, and the fact that we have been able to develop an opportunity for which the humans of the world can improve their lives. And what I mean that, I'm not talking about make-believe, I'm talking about an actual reality. So the focus there is trying to be able to change our minds in terms of where we're at and where we have been. And this is the product. This is the product that will change the world in terms of its ability to be able to handle life. And if you see here, basically it's just a thumb drive, but what it's in the thumb drive is what makes the major part of the difference. Now, in order to be able to find out what is in this thumb drive, we need to be able to understand and go back to one basic question about human existence. And that is, the question is as follows. What is the one thing that the humans around the globe have lacked the most, and which at the same time has impeded the ways of progress in human existence? And let me repeat again. What is the thing that we most lack as humans, and which most serves to impede the ways of progress in human life? Okay.
Discipline. Discipline?
Discipline is very part of it. Knowledge is part of it. Okay. But since I only have 6 minutes, what has been able to, we most lack, and which also serves to most impede us from progress, is the absence of truth. That has been our main obstacle, that we don't have truth. We are based upon a system more or less created beliefs set to habit than we are in terms of a pursuit of truth and confirmation of truth. So what we're talking about is eminent truth, basically, and that is what we're offering in terms of that. Because if we realize that truth is what basically allows us to progress, then we'll be able to know that we have a different door which we can look at. Truth denied is progress denied, and that's what it's basically all about. If you can look here, this is what we have been taught. This is the aspects of, what is this? This is the evolution. This is the aspects of what we have been taught, that we have come from the monkey and then we have gone and evolved to some extent. And this is the aspect of where we're at. But what we have not been told goes to the next application. Okay, and it is this. And that is that in our involvement as a human being, what we haven't been told is that there's a next level. And that's a level we have never been taught. And so there's a missing link, and everybody has been told that there's a missing link in terms of our involvement and in terms of how we connect that. But there's another missing link that we have not been told about, is what is the missing link between here and here? And the missing link between here and here is exactly this. Is exactly the truth in terms of understanding what we're about, where we come from, and where we're going. So it's all in the mind aspects of what we're talking about. And so that's what the Piensa Institute works upon, is the aspects of the ability to think and be able to know things that we have never been told about. How many humans on the planet actually know that we were born with 15 different powers? That we were born with 15 different capabilities that help us to be able to think and live at the optimal level of our potential, as opposed to thinking and acting at the lower level of our potential, which is where we are now and we have been for the major part of our existence. If you look at the world, where's the world right now? Our world is on an accelerated course to the bottom in terms of rising inequality, poverty, and civil unrest. My question to you is, do you think does that demonstrate the capability that we have as humans and our capability to think? Is that the kind of life that we deserve when we have a capability, has 15 different capabilities that we have within ourselves that we can use? We should not be living the way we are. We're driven by a system that is more of a deficient program mindset than is what the capability of the potential that we each have been given. And so we do have an opportunity to be able to go forward. Basically, it's all in the aspects of the mind. The mind that you see on the left here, on your left, is basically the mind without critical thinking. And that's one of the things that we are missing today, is critical thinking. Probably have need to indicate that common sense died about 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And so what we have right now is pretty much of a mess in the ability to be able to think. What we have right here, this is the critical thinking capability, is the mind that we have with to be able to have a critical thinking capability which is based on truth. It's based on capability to understand what we're all about. So this is where we're at right now. This is the missing link that we need to go here in terms of being able to have a realm of what is called a realm of new knowledge that will allow us to be able to think and live at the optimal level of potential species. So, in terms of the new knowledge, what new knowledge are we talking about that will help us to live a better life than what we have right now? First of all, it's understanding the optimal human structure, how the optimal human structure is created, developed, and formed. Now, we're humans, but we were born, and when we're born, our parents do not have an owner's manual to be able to explain, well, okay, you know, we got this is how it works, this is how we're supposed to take care of it. We don't have that, and we should have that. And so part of what the Piensa Institute does is provide an owner's manual as to how we're created in the form. The second part has to do with the human life structure. We have a life. Life is basically dictated by governments and the aspects around how people are being able to treat it through the ways of the law. We're not offered that opportunity either. And so, again, look at life as it is right now. We have a lot of little different conflicts throughout the world. And if we look at the nation right now, it looks like we just can't get along with each other. The third one has to do with how the optimal business structure is created, developed, and formed. Now, in that aspect, what's really important is that what critical thinking does is allow us to be able to discern the reality that we have before us right now. And a lot of that reality has to do with understanding where we're at. With critical thinking, we'll understand three things. Number one is that the present business management knowledge is insufficient, that the present business organizational structure is inadequate, and that the present business leadership model is obsolete. So that, with critical thinking, allows us to see realities that we would not be able to see without it. And the last one, so we do have an option. An option to be able to live at and think at the optimal level of potential as a species, as opposed to thinking at the bottom. So we do have a choice. For the first time, we do have an opportunity to be able to dictate a choice. Before, we only had one, and that is the road to development, which is the road that we're on right now. And as you see, you have the power. Each and every one of you were given a brain, and that brain has a memory system, and that how we choose to structure that, how we choose to protect that, how we choose to develop, how we choose to empower that, will dictate is the future. So that is what we have today. You have the power, you have the capability, and you have the path right now where you guys can make a difference going forward. That's the presentation. So, questions?
So say I were to sign up, so what would the process be after that?
The one institute, so what we do is we provide a reference of new knowledge. There's two things that we provide. Number one, the fact is the knowledge that we provide is not offered by any other organization in the world. Number one. Number two is that we make a guarantee to be able to increase critical thinking, but we return your money. In other words, that's the best entrepreneurial aspect that we have. In other words, if we think we have the confidence that we can improve the way of thinking for people, then we do that. We offer it through different lectures, we offer it through different programs. In fact, we have a workshop that's going to be offered on February 10th and 17th. It's a Saturday from 8 to 12. It's Introduction to Critical Thinking. So it allows us to be able to understand what it is. It's divided into parts. One is the aspect around the knowledge, the new knowledge that's required for critical thinking. And the second has to do with the structure of techniques and methodologies which we need to use to be able to develop a critical thinking mind capability. So that's what we provide.
So who goes to the Piensa Institute?
Anybody who wants to be smarter than they are. That's simple. Anybody who wants to be able to have a knowledge that will allow them to see reality for what it is. Because critical thinking has that objective. When you are able to develop a critical thinking mind capability, it will allow you to see things that you would never, ever be able to perceive through the irrational mindset that we have been programmed to. And so, critical thinking provides you with that option. If you want to be able to have a better success in terms of business, then the aspects is critical thinking goes with the knowledge that allows you to be able to see things for what they are. Not for what they're made to be. That's a totally different issue. But for what they are. And with that knowledge, it will allow you to be there, okay, so this is my reality, this is what's going on, this is how I need to be able to deal with this.
Could you provide an example, like an applicable example, something simple that would be saying something for what it is versus, how it presented.
Okay. All right, let's try one. How many of you believe that you are human beings or being human? All of you who believe that you are human beings or being human, please stand up. All right. Obviously, thank you very much. Okay. Now, what would you say? What would you say if you're incorrect? If I was to say that you're incorrect, that is not correct. What would you say?
Tell us.
Okay, so I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to show you. Okay, if you go back to on the evolutional chart, okay, the thing about it is, what is the human being? The human being is a hybrid. That's what we are. We're a hybrid. That means that we're part animal and that we're part human. Okay, so that's the first thing we have to understand. And if we really want to be specific, we are an animal with the capability to become human. Okay? Can we read to that part so far? Now, the bottom line is that a human is not a human being or being human until such point they are fully human. So when we're talking about the aspects, this is the area of where we are to become fully human. And what does it mean to become fully human? To become fully human means is that we have what is called pure heart. And what a pure heart is that we respect everything that exists. And we treat everything accordingly to do that. And that we're knowledgeable in terms of being wiser than we are. Because we're always pursuing truth. So, the aspect here is that here's where we're at. We're human, but we're not being human until such point that we're fully human. And that's one of the aspects that we need to understand. Now, the majority of us, there's one thing that's really good about it, is that the majority of us are civil. Okay? And so when we talk about ourselves, it's, well, yeah, I'm an animal, yeah, I get it. But I'm a civil animal. And so the issue around it is, the majority of us are. But there are several people, as you know, there are people that are monsters among us. They are not human. They have no conscience. And so the aspects is we have to understand that though we may be civil, there are other people that are not so civil. There are people that have intentions that are nefarious, but not the intentions that we tend to look at, which is all we want is to be able to have the opportunity to be able to protect our children and to have a better life. So that's part of the process that we have here. So yes, we are human, but we're not being human. We're not human beings until such point in time that we're fully human.
Could you touch on a couple of the abilities that you're referring to, like the 15 abilities that we all have?
Probably the one that's most important that I would probably like to bring up is the power of what is curiosity. Now, curiosity, everybody that's here has curiosity. Now, did you know that all ignorance is self-imposed? All ignorance is self-imposed. Okay? Okay, I'll give you a fast demonstration. Can you stand up, please? Okay. Everybody that knows how many children he has, if he has children or not. How many of you know how many children he has? Raise your hand.
They know how many.
They know how many children he has. Okay, so that means that the majority of you do not have. Now, how do you find out how many children he has? Ask him.
How many children do you have?
I have a dog.
So he has no children. So again, thank you, appreciate it. So basically the point is that curiosity is what limits you from knowing and not knowing. If you have a lot of curiosity, what will you do? You will find out. If it's by interest, if it's by intrigue, or it's by need, you will find out. If something you really want to know, you will find out. So curiosity is what allows you to be able to dictate what your future is going to be. My point is telling you is question everything as if your very life depends on it, simply because it does. Okay? So the issue is we don't question things. We just tend to accept them. And we need to question everything if we want to be able to change for the better. Yes?
I'm just so curious about how you determine someone's more animal than a human. Is it like personality traits, behavior,
at children versus adults, and adults acting out as kids, that makes them more.
The way that you dictate in terms of whether a person is more of the animal nature or the human nature is by 3 words. It's basically, it's a methodology, it's very simple. Once you understand the process, and it's read the movements. Read the movements. Don't read what people have to say. People are very conniving and very good at trying to show something that they're not. But read the movements, study the movements with time, and it will allow you to be able to know if what they are doing actually is of the human nature, is actually of the animal nature that provides. When we're aggressive, and we're yelling, we're screaming, and what does that tell us? That's the animal nature of it. Now, everybody here has an animal nature at some point in time because everybody gets upset at some point in time and expresses themselves in terms of what they have. The good thing about it is we may get upset at times, but we get over it. And then we move on. And so the aspects of it is, yes, we have an animal tendency, the animal force, and some people, I remember one time I gave a presentation regarding the same topic, and somebody said, I'm not an animal. No, we are. The only thing is that we have to understand within the context of what we are. And like I said, the majority is, if you really, for those of you who have traveled throughout the world, you will find that the majority of the people that we meet, anywhere that we go, they're very civil. They're very nice. They're very friendly. But there's just one little group that always tends to put everything into caps. Any other questions?
Going once, going twice. What can we, the last question is always, what can we as a community do to help you?
Okay. As you know right now, there's a major investment in artificial intelligence. And that artificial intelligence is basically, since Vladimir Putin said that whoever controls artificial intelligence is going to control the world, now you have every country in the world trying to hit artificial intelligence. What I'm here to tell you is, what is it that you can do for us? What you can do for us is start investing in natural intelligence. If this missing link that we're talking about, if the missing link that we're talking about is structured into the education system that we have, it will change the world for the better. Because it will give us a reference of where we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to get there. So what I ask of you is, please invest in natural intelligence. Because natural intelligence is really what's going to be profitable and productive for everyone. Artificial intelligence is only going to be productive and profitable for a small group of people. Okay? So please, natural intelligence is what's important.
Okay. They make me look smart. Okay, real quick, actually I'm just going to touch on what Cruz said because this was, the artificial intelligence has been on my mind. I'm ex-military. Late last year, for the first time ever, an aircraft piloted by artificial intelligence consistently defeated the best human pilots late last year. So artificial intelligence is a big issue. Anyway, with that, please do sign in on your way out. It's very important that we report back to our sponsors and our founders that we are having an impact. Please come back and see us next week. We may have cake for our 1-year anniversary since we didn't have it this week. Please sign up to present, follow us, and come back and see us. Thank you very much.